I understand.
Yeah.
I would consider like producing tracks writing as well.
Okay.
Okay, what makes a complete track to you?
Ooh, good question. Um, I would have to say when many people struggle with like overproducing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That moment when the groove feels right and you clearly, when you just listen to the track, you feel a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
When this track tells a story in itself, it's done. Which is why sometimes, yeah, I would just make a verse and a chorus, and that'll be it. And it might be a little outro that fades out, for like an interlude or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's about the feel when you first hit play to whenever the song ends. And if you don't feel like it has a strong ending, well, then you're not done. Not done yet.
Yeah. I,
Yeah,
I would say for me a track if I play it and then I feel like I want to listen to it again.
that's it. That's the one. I just had that experience last night. But when you make something and you be like, okay, I gotta run that back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah, you've done it.
Do you have like a standard process for the tracks you make since you've done so many? Like things you repeat most of the time?
A real basic one. I don't always start or finish the same, but the same tools are always
Mm-hmm.
used. Which I have templates loaded up in Logic of what I like. So MPC, Live, um, of course, like I said, Logic,
Mm-hmm.
and then my software instruments that I like in Logic, like the Arturia collection is something that I've really been messing with lately. Native Instruments, of course, stuff like that.
I got you.
But it could start anywhere. You know, it could
Mm-hmm.
be. I'm definitely more what's the term? Melodically driven as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to rhythmically. So oftentimes I have a melody in my head that I just play on any instrument,
Mm-hmm.
and then if it fits, it fits. If I need to find another one, cool. But then start building the rhythm section and pull the bass out if I need to, or do synth bass.
Mm-hmm.
I really approach music making from a curiosity standpoint,
I
as
got you.
opposed to like I'm already gonna do this. Like I'll start with one idea and then we'll just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got you. When like a lot of people when they get into like that high volume phase,
Mm,
they more so start standardizing things. It's really more so for people who do work for hire stuff.
right.
So just so they can maintain the quality, but sometimes if they're sometimes creativity can suffer when you over standardize things. Um but that is a challenge. I'm glad you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah. So like I did, and I want to get back into it with the sync placements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're doing that type of stuff, you do kind of need more of
Yeah.
a stricter.
That but there's a different goal there. It's like more of a standard goal.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But for when I'm just creating like actual songs that I feel
Mm-hmm.
should go to an artist or for myself, yeah, it's strictly just a curiosity standpoint.
I got you.
Yeah.
Um how do you come up with your harmonies? Vocal, instrument, doesn't matter.
Uh, church has a lot to do with it. I'm a church boy. Um, so hearing just a lot of those older gospel chords is a huge influence for me. I grew up listening to Fred Hammond and John P. Key and uh, the Winans and Commissioned, and
Mm-hmm.
then on the R&B side, I grew up listening to Boys to Men and Jagged Edge and Brian McKnight. And so just hearing harmonies all my life, harmony is a very natural
Mm-hmm.
thing that I add to my production. So, um, I just again, it's from a curiosity standpoint. How many stacks do you need? I really like to stack, especially
Mm-hmm.
vocals. Um, and so harmony is always something that came easy to me. My
Like
family sings, so we grew up singing like together. So yeah, that's innate.
okay. So you said you're melodically driven. Harmony
Yeah.
comes natural to you. Did you ever struggle with like the rhythm and the drums?
Uh, my struggle with the rhythm was more so like the creative aspect of just doing something outside of
Basic grooves.
basic grooves.
Right.
Trying to come up with some things that were interesting and that moved rhythmically more so than just like a strict tempo based groove.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but even then, but the MPC actually helped me come up with that because again, just being curious.
You be tactile with it.
Yeah, like when especially I had to get the MPC because bro, I just hated like working in the computer for a minute. Like it was just a lot. Like I just didn't like staring at it for too long and sitting down.
Just clicking, dragging.
Just clicking. I never clicked and dragged too much, so I would be playing it like on the MIDI keyboard or whatever. But it just doesn't feel right.
It's a bit off.
It wasn't meant for that. You know what I'm saying? So once I found out that the MPC was like, once I found out they made the live, which they made the X, the live, and then the one.
Mm-hmm.
And they put like the computer functionality in it too. I was like, okay, this is kind of fly. So when I bought that, yeah, that changed the game.
I got you. So how do you approach drums then, or just the groove in general?
Fortunately, groove, being a bass player primarily, I'm having pretty strong sense of groove, and being able to play with a lot of good drummers is key.
Yeah, they'll teach you some things.
A bunch of things, like Daniel Gaden, who's a phenomenal drummer, is constantly like, on the spot coming up with things that I've never heard, like just hitting certain things certain ways or his timing of things. James Johnson, a bunch of local Chicago cats that I've had the chance to play with or just hear play. That's been like a huge inspiration for me. Like, okay, when I come back to the studio, I can try to approach that how Daniel did it or whatever, So.
Okay, well that just brings up two questions.
Okay.
The first one is like, how has like just playing with people influenced you in the studio and when you're writing? And also, have you, back just to the groove question, what kind of philosophy have you developed so far as like making a groove? Answer any order you want.
Well, first, I think playing with people is probably the most priceless education you can get as far as developing your musicianship, or as if you're just a producer, even that, because being a producer, you are a musician. And so getting out, learning an instrument, and then playing said instrument with other people, it's an exchange of energy, of emotion, and you're naturally digesting their methods or their styles. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same of like when you're a culmination of everything that you take in. So just like whatever you listen to as a child, that develops in you. Like you were saying, I could tell you grew up on 90s and 2000s R&B, and it's like, well, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's osmosis.
It's absolutely. So, playing with people is an extremely important aspect that I think everybody should experience. If you are a music maker, you should experience that.
Well, music ain't made in a vacuum.
Exactly.
It's made with people.
And you can tell when people come out to like jam sessions, and you could tell like the bedroom players, like the ones that have grown up and they just played by themselves and this is their first time because maybe they're not listening too well to how everything fits together, or they only have a very limited amount of not even chops, but a limited amount of.
I think it's like a feel. Like you can make a feel by yourself, but when you're playing with people, you got to like this push and pull.
Absolutely, you have to.
You could be technically proficient. You could be ripping at home, but you got to be able to work it out with people. Yeah.
Yes, you have to provide the context. So that's an invaluable experience. As far as like my the way that I conduct like making a groove is I do really like to start with bass. And you gotta figure out what the goal is. Am I trying to get people to dance? Am I trying to get people to partake in adult festivities? Am I trying to get people to fall in love? What's the end goal? And that describes, okay, how do I approach this groove? Is it up tempo? Is Is it strictly time locked on the grid, or is it loose? All of those things. So really, again, coming from a place of curiosity, is what purpose does this song serve? And then you trust your gut that you've heard or felt those feelings before, and you say, okay, I can reproduce that, to the best of my ability.
I got you. That's cool. That is actually great. Again, you said the music side always came natural. Well, it came natural first. So yeah, that's a great explanation of it. When you were writing lyrics, how did you ever kind of how would you make the lyrics and the track fit together? Because I think that's not is an underappreciated part of just writing and production.
Yeah, like what, like
As far as
putting.
the emotion of the lyrics and the emotion of the track.
Oh, okay. Well, so it's kind of like, I think this is how a lot of people get, especially in today's time, how a lot of people have the problem of overproducing a track.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing the term counter melody a lot lately. And so it's where like somebody might have, let's just say, a synth line playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're saying, oh, I need a counter melody on top of that. Well, already once you have two different melodies, it makes it hard for the vocal to
Mm-hmm.
blend, because you already have whatever the pad or underneath is.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have two separate melodies. Now whoever's singing is going to add a melody, so you either have to double one that's already there or recreate another one, which I think is too much. Oftentimes too much. So me personally, I definitely use the voice like an instrument. So I try sometimes, I get a little excited, but I try to make the track as simple as possible, meaning as few instruments as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then that already creates the space for the vocal. So when I write, now I'm thinking of the voice as multiple instruments, because it's carrying melody, but it also is carrying rhythm. So how do I want to, what cadence, feels best with the groove that's set? Also, what melodies fit in context with the rest of the song?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's just it's how do I create a lane for each thing where you can pinpoint with your ears anything you want, whether it's what I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
or what's being played, and nothing is like losing its shine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to writing with the track, it's trying to stay out of the way of other instruments so that the vocal has room to shine.